All right, we will call to order the Board of Equalization. And with that, Jen, will you take roll, please?
Commissioner Corbin?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Waldner? Commissioner Thill?
Here.
Mayor Lindsay?
Here. Before you, you have the agenda for the Board of Equalization.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Review the 2016 assessment roll. Jen, I'm going to ask you if you would like to address that.
Sure, just a little history here quickly. The 2016 real estate assessment real estate notices were mailed to property owners in late February. We did have Director of Equalization, Shirley Epson, was present at our February 22nd, 2016 meeting to offer an explanation on the process and then also go through the 2016 changes. Property owners had until 3/17 to appeal their assessments to the local Board of Equalization, which is this body. After that, the local Board of Equalization meets starting the third Monday of March, which is this evening. And your responsibilities are to review any appeals, which we had none this year. Between Shirley and myself, we talked to a couple different individuals, none who chose to follow through with the process. So then tonight, you as the board need to please certify the accuracy of the assessment roll, the two books there that you have in front of you, and then we sign off on it and we deliver it back to the Director of Equalization before next Monday.
Okay. Any questions? Comments?
I have none.
All right, do we have a motion?
Your motion, if you would please, would be to approve the 2016 assessment roll.
So moved.
I assume you went through all these.
No, just scanned. But, you know, in order to really find out something, you have to know what last year's was and if they've made any adjustments and so,
Second.
yes, yes.
Thank you.
Okay? Any other questions?
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
Nope, you're good, you're good.
I did mean to interrupt, yeah.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Seeing nothing else on the agenda for the Board of Equalization, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, now we will move into Board of Commissioners. And Jen, would you want to do roll call again on this, please?
I will, one more time. Commissioner Corbin?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson?
Still here.
Commissioner Waldner? Commissioner Thill?
Yep.
And Mayor Lindsay.
Here. Do we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll make a motion, we adopt agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Seeing no appearances, is there anything that anyone wants to pull from the consent calendar?
Motion to approve consent calendar.
Second, excuse me.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Under old business, 5:35, and we're just about 40 seconds from that. Hearing upon the application for the sale of alcoholic beverages, the temporary alcohol license for the DSU Foundation.
That is a one-day license for the annual DSU Gala to be held this year, April 30th, up at the Dakota Prairie Playhouse.
Okay. Seeing no one who wants to speak for or against, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve temporary alcohol license for the DSU Foundation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Hearing upon the application for the sale of alcoholic beverages, temporary alcohol license for the Madison Fire Department. Randy, would you like to address this?
Yep, the fire department, I guess, once again, is having our fireman's dance, it's scheduled for April 9th. It's our 43rd annual fireman's dance. Yep, we'd like to ask the commission for their approval for an alcohol permit. It'd be a one-day license. This year, as in the past, we're gonna do our special event insurance. We card at the door, nobody under the age of 21 is allowed inside. Our local PD does walkthroughs, helps us, keep it, under control, so. Any other questions about our dance?
Wished I could help you haul tables and chairs, but I'm not under workman's comp, so.
Yeah. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion, we approve the temporary alcohol license for the Madison Fire Department.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number three.
Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Number 3, 2015 Annual Report. Jen? I'm gonna-
All right, tonight you have 5 pages of financials that I would like to review. We will talk specifically this evening about our proprietary funds or our enterprise funds. First document you have in front of you is the statement of net position. Again, it's a breakdown of our assets and liabilities reflective of many year-end adjusting entries. Cash and cash equivalents, again, is a total of our liquid cash and our designated reserves. About 1.9 million there in the water fund, 2.6 million in the electric fund. Accounts receivable, the accounts receivable in our proprietary funds include the unpaid and also the unbilled. We do a lot of adjusting entries to figure out exactly what is even unbilled at the end of the year. That goes into our accounts receivable line item. Under non-current assets, about halfway down the page there, you'll see restricted cash and restricted investments. Those are a combination of our utility account deposits and also the dollars we have in the restricted reserves, which are set aside for bond documents for future bond payments. So there in the water fund, that 191, that is our Lewis and Clark debt service. And the electric fund there, you'll see two different dollar amounts, $444,000 and also $316,000. Those are the generation plant and distribution project debt service amounts. Down below there, there's a line item that says deposits, it's $1.9 million. That is our prepayment of the Lewis and Clark water line. We all know that that's not here yet, it's intangible. We have made that prepayment towards it, therefore it is booked as a deposit under our assets. Net pension asset. You'll see dollar amounts all the way through and all of the funds there in regard to that net pension asset. That is our new GASB 68 requirement. You will see several references to this pension throughout this document, including dollar amounts in the deferred inflows and the deferred outflows. And what that net pension requirement is this year, that is our estimated financial support of our employee pension plan. Okay, GASB, the first GASB had to do with the post-employment health insurance benefits. This now has to do with the pension liability in regard to the employee pension plan. However, due to the fact that currently the South Dakota retirement system is 104% funded at their year end, this, what we would appear to be a liability, if it's a liability we have to book, is actually an asset, because that South Dakota retirement system is fully funded. That's why it shows up on the asset portion of your balance sheet here. The final section there is your capital assets. That is a record of the land, buildings, and equipment that have a purchase price of over $5,000, less their accumulated depreciation. Final line there is your total assets, for a grand total on the far right-hand side of your page there, a grand total of $39 million of total assets in your proprietary funds. Page 2, please. Your deferred outflows, more pension-related items there. Your current liabilities, we've talked about that before, that accounts payable, those are the star FY entries, coding expense in 2016 back to your 2015. You'll also see some accrued interest and accrued wages payable there. And then let's look at the bonds current payable, please. In the water fund, you'll see $202,000. 218 in the sewer fund, and then 545 there in the electric fund. Those are our 2016 bond payments due. They fall into current as they're the next year, the 2016 payments due. And then there's a total current liabilities line item there, the final line of your page. Flip to page 3, please. More bonds under non-current liabilities. These are the bonds payable non-current, 2.9 in the water fund, 3.5 in the sewer fund, and 3.8 million in there in the electric fund. Those are our principal debt service payments for year 2017 and beyond. There's more leave payable there with some OPEB obligations for a total liabilities, which brings us to our total net position, which is the last line item on your page. Once upon a time, that was called simply our fund balances. So after these 3 pages here, those are a breakdown of our total fund balances on a per fund basis. That is your statement of net position. One more document, please, is the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position. This may be the 2-page document of the annual report that is the most interesting to you. It does include the non-cash items of depreciation, also of capital contributions and of transfers, but it essentially reflects our bottom line in each of our proprietary funds. The first section there is your operating revenue. It's broken down into charges for goods and services and/or the revenue dedicated for servicing debt for those funds of which we have the bond payments. So we'll look at that total operating revenue boxed in there for me. You'll see 1.6 million in the water fund, about $10.3 million in the electric fund. All of these funds finished over budget in revenue, but not substantially, which tells me we did a pretty darn good job budgeting. All over budget, but again, not substantially, with the exception of the recycling center fund that did end up under budget. The next section there is your total operating expenses, broken down into personal services, other current expenses, and depreciation. All funds there finished under budget in expense, with the exception of the community center, and they will always argue that that is because of that substantial $97,000 worth of depreciation expense. Non-cash, but still an expense as per the books. Last line item on that page there is the last section in that page there, if you would, is the total non-operating revenue and expenses. There are some grant dollars there, that $17,000 in the electric fund. Those are monies that we get for the commercial rebate program that we have available to our commercial customers. Those dollars come from Heartland. You'll also see some interest earned and some interest paid there. And the final line there is your gain loss on the disposition of asset, which is your sale of surplus property line items. Flip to page 2, final page. Capital contributions. You will see some pretty big dollars in your capital contribution line items there. Over $500,000 in the water fund. That is a total of the contribution from the East Dakota Development Water Group that gave us some dollars to put towards our utility evaluation update. Also under the water, also as part of that $500,000, there are the final project expenses with our water main improvement project. on the southwest 4th Street, and also the STP project that was completed on southeast 4th Street. In the sewer fund, $22,000 there in the sewer fund, that is the sewer portion of the STP project. And finally, capital contributions as specific to the community center. Those are the biannual dollars that we receive from the Board of Regents for DSU's contribution towards the community center, and then also some miscellaneous contributions given to the center. All right, so go to, if you would please, change in net position. Once upon a time, we called that our net income. These final totals range from $1.5 million in the electric fund to a negative $102,000 in the community center fund. Some of these net position final balances are up from last year, some are down from last year. You will notice that 2 funds show loss. Those are the community center and also the recycling center, and this has been the case in our financials for the last several years. Finally there, you'll see an accounting for beginning and ending net positions.
Questions?
I spent quite a bit of time on these. They were really fun, I thought.
They kind of are, and when you can make them jive to your books, and yeah, you learn a lot as you dig through these financials too.
I thought it was nice to see, I compared these to last year's. All our current assets went up a little bit. And then the liabilities went down, especially in the electric department. You could see where we paid off that extra bond early. Went down about 19%, so that's exciting. But it's nice to see our value of our assets were maintained. I guess, to me, it tells me we're charging an appropriate amount for our services. And as long as we can keep that value up, I think it bodes well for the future of the utilities, so.
Okay, questions, if you come up with questions this week, please give me a holler, I'll love to answer your questions. We're going to put this annual report on the agenda just one more time. Next week, we're going to talk about only a 2-page document, which is your statement of cash flows, and that is specific to cash only. That's dollars in and dollars out with no adjusting interest, so you can see how each proprietary fund is doing on a cash-only basis. And then we're gonna go through some sales tax collection information from the last couple years, and then also some year-to-date. And collections, again, being cash-specific, no accruals involved.
You mentioned the prepayment on Lewis and Clark, but don't we pay that bond out of Second Cent? That doesn't actually
We
come out of
do.
the water fund, does
We
it?
do, but it has to be booked. You can't book
Right.
anything. Therefore, the capital contributions, the $500,000 that we talked about, those projects were paid for out of the Second Cent Fund, but you can't capitalize and book anything in the Second Cent Fund. So you can bring in the money, you can pay for the project out of that fund, but then it needs to find a home.
Right.
So that home needs to be water department, sewer department, wherever we need to capitalize it at. And that's then, Corbin, why those dollars and those restricted dollars have to show up in the water fund, not in the Second Cent Fund.
Thank you.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
I just want to thank Jen for putting a lot of hard hours to this and leading us in the right way, because if we didn't have this and a chance to get it explained to us, we'd be sitting up here like a bunch of little kids in a sandbox. Thank
I
you.
enjoy it.
Nope, very
Please
good.
Send me your questions.
Very good.
Thanks for your patience and listening to all of it too.
If no other questions, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the annual report 2015.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. New business. Authorize the mayor to sign a memorandum of understanding agreement with the 2015 partners, install concrete surfacing on the alley of Smith and Tro's Summit Edition. Don, did you have anything you wanted to add to it, or Chad, do you want to?
I can say a few words. if
Sure,
that's all
okay,
right.
very good.
Mr. Amer, Don Amer approached me, and they expressed an interest into installing concrete pavement 6 inches thick on an alley. It's the alley that is 1 block west of the former Lincoln School on the south side of the road. It's a dead-end alley, and I believe it's going to serve a new residential couple units that Mr. Amert had installed there. It's 100% at their cost. I did talk to Mr. Amert about this and asked that he contact the neighbors. You can see in the sheet all the adjacent neighbors signed off on it. I believe they did also get to see the memorandum of understanding and agreement, which clearly lays out the terms and limits responsibility or liability, I guess you could say, on the city, and there's no costs in it for those other adjacent landowners. So I reviewed this location with the street foreman and the public works director and some on the commission. We talked about it a little bit, and this has been something, I believe there's 2 other locations, maybe 3, that Mr. Amert has done this on rental properties that he has to provide a clean surface, if you will, a non-gravel surface access to this. And in addition to a couple that Mr. Amert did on the East River Federal Credit Union, they actually implemented a similar thing where they paid 100% of the cost. It didn't. The alternative is you go through an assessment process where there's somebody who petition. I've never been through it, but my understanding is landowners petition, and then has to have a hearing, and all landowners have to agree, or at least 55% have to agree, and then it has to go through a bid process and so on. That's a process to do it, but in the absence of this, Mr. Amert's just proposing to do this at their cost.
I've been through that process when our street went from mud to
Right,
blacktop.
yeah.
So,
You still remember?
yes.
So with that, I would recommend that we proceed with approving this agreement.
Anyone have any questions?
Tom, was there any opposition or?
No, if all the neighbors, the only question was, does it cost me anything? And the answer was no. Everybody would be happy to have it.
Assume that from the discussion.
Where are you ending on the south part of it? The south driveway or the?
There are lots that.
Don, if I could ask you to come to the mic, because anyone that listens to this at home, I'm going to get a phone call and say, I can't hear him. Thank you, thank you.
The lot that we own runs from the street on Liberty back west to the alley. The lots that are on the south end of that block run the other direction, and there is no continuation of the alley. When the alley gets to the far south end of our property, it dead ends. So
So you're running to the south end of that dead-end alley then?
you run into the north end of the parking areas that the 2 houses there maintain.
Right.
It splits kind of right on the alley. There is a driveway through there, and the people who live in those 2 houses are awfully forgiving because they don't complain. I mean, it took me a long time to figure out that was not a dedicated alley, but it's not. And people who live there don't complain about people driving through there at all, which is pretty generous of them.
Right.
Coming within a foot or so of their houses when you're going by. They'll have a little better access to their backyards too. So, and they did, although they don't, I guess one of them is adjacent to the alley, the other one is not actually adjacent to it, but both of them signed off on that.
All right. Anybody else have questions?
Any other questions?
No?
I'll make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign memorandum of understanding and agreement, 2015 partners install concrete surfacing on alley of Smith and Trow's Summit Edition.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Number
Don.
2, authorize the mayor to sign the agreement with Civil Design Incorporated to design the grading for the new cell at the restricted use site. And Fred, I'll ask you to address this.
Thank you. We are looking at actually opening up a new cell late summer, early fall, before the ground gets nice and hard on us. Civil Design out of Brookings is actually the company, or the engineers that actually did the engineering on the last cell 8 years ago. So Chad and I got a hold of them and met with them agreement you have in front of you is to do all the engineering services needed to open that cell up, staking and contracts and things that we need, estimates for how much it's gonna cost us for the new cell. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell, unless Chad's got something he wants to.
Our department will do some of we'll do the bidding process and then the construction administration.
Okay.
Civil design would have the survey topography, so they'll come out and survey it afterwards and compare the two surfaces for the pay quantities.
And the dollar amount estimated?
For their contract is $14,500.
Okay. Questions?
I guess I'd like to know, why do we have to go out of town to do our engineering service? And when was this discussed in front of the commission, just to up and hire a firm without us guys up here at the front table knowing anything about that? I just think we're spending $14,500 for something that, can our engineers do? Maybe they could go out and survey the pit and see.
Chad, I'll ask you if you want to respond to that.
Yeah, one of the biggest things is time constraints for this particular year. You know, with the state project, you know, our street project, the animal shelter, the special maintenance fee project, and the airport projects, we're just pretty strapped this year. Could we do it? Yes. Would we be proficient and efficient in it? You know, it's not, we can do roads and streets and water mains and sewer mains pretty well, I would say. That's not something we do every day. And so, but we wouldn't be able to do it this year. I mean, that's a big part of it.
The other part of it is, I think you need to realize that this was discussed with me. This wasn't, and this is just hasn't been blind here. You know, this was discussed with me. So I had no trouble with it, so I said, bring it to the commission, it's fine.
And me as well, and
I
I've
don't
been
know what
out
else I can
there.
say. Yeah, I just can't, you know, I can't say that this just flopped on the table without any prior knowledge.
And it is something that we did budget for, so it is, you know, in the budget, you know, as,
No, it wasn't in the budget,
it was in the reserves.
it's in.
In the reserves, got it.
Reserve.
Yeah, okay.
On the other
So,
hand, we did know this was coming.
yep.
And we're
That's
doing the
true.
planning for it now. You know, not entirely sure that I'm thrilled about spending $14,000, but there are some constraints out there and some things that need to be worked around. We're gonna need some engineering on this. It's just something that has to take care of, something that has to take place, so.
Other questions? Bob, did you get your question answered?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
I talked to Fred about it earlier today too, so.
I did send out an email this morning on it too, so if anybody had any questions, you could give me a call and we could have discussed all that. But I try to keep everyone here informed of it.
I'll make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign agreement, Civil Designing, Inc., design grading for new cell at restricted use site.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 3, authorize the use of cell construction reserve to design the grading for the new cell at the restricted use site. And again, I'll ask Chad or Fred if either one of you want to address that.
This goes hand in hand with what you just approved. This is how we're going to pay Civil Design to actually take care of our engineering costs. We have adequate money in our reserve to cover those costs, and I ask that the commission approve spending up to $14,500 out of that reserve to cover this engineering.
How long do you think till they'll get at it, by the way?
Pardon?
How long till they'll get at their part of it?
They'll get their part done. We're looking at what, probably late summer, is what we're thinking, early fall.
Looks, I say I should have brought my file.
Yeah, I think
Bid bid sometime around July 1st, give or take a couple weeks
Yeah.
to give, and then be pretty open with the completion date.
Okay.
You know, Fred's been eyeing how much time is left in that cell. That's what's
Yeah.
driving it ultimately, you know, for
Yeah.
this year. And so we want to allow as many bidders as possible, you know, to try to bid in this, so.
Absolutely.
Other questions or comments?
I'll make a motion to authorize the use of cell construction reserve for up to 14,500 design grading for new cell or restricted use site.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Yes. Bid number 845, approve specifications and set a bid date for the surfacing improvement project number 2016-2. And Chad, I'll ask you to go through and explain that.
Yes, this is the first project where we're using the dollars generated from the special maintenance fee. We're improving the asphalt surfacing, tearing out basically the asphalt and the subgrade to a point to allow us to build it up with granular. We're looking to use the geotextile fabric there, per some recommendations we had after a company came in and bored and looked at the subsurface soils. We're looking at 7th Street Northwest from Highland to west, and then 5th Street Northwest from Kansas to, 7th Street is from Highland to Olive, 5th Street is from Kansas to west. And so we're looking to use those dollars and to start putting them towards making surfacing improvements as, for the purposes that those monies are collected. It's a new type of project that we've done. It's not that awful new. Obviously, geofabric and geotextile materials are used, but we purposefully selected a project that was without utility upgrades, so we can go through it 1 year and see how that goes together. I have no doubt in future years, there will definitely be utility cuts, water main and sewer main underneath, but we look to repeat this maybe every other year, especially now when we have those additional funds coming in directly from the DOT. So this is for that. These are the plans for that project. I thought I sent the notice. I think we were gonna bid it on April 12th. Is that, do you recall the date? Is that in your email? At 1:30 PM. I noticed it wasn't in the agenda packet. I sent it out in a briefing memo earlier, but April 12th at 1:30 PM was the date we were looking to set for bidding.
Questions?
You are gonna keep the ground up asphalt that you grind off for
Yeah, we coordinated with
future use?
with the Public Works Department, like we've done in the last several projects. They're gonna mill it, and then the contractor's gonna actually collect the millings and then any base material that's underneath of it and haul it for use on future projects, hopefully. Yeah, that's correct. And the concrete work, you may recall, the concrete work is gonna be paid for from the Second Cent Fund. We wanted to keep them separate, so all the asphalt work is gonna be paid with this, from the Special Maintenance Fee Fund. Yeah, we're retaining, primarily the project is retaining the majority of the curb and gutter. We did some surveys and such to remove some problem areas, but not all, but mainly the curb and gutter is gonna be retained.
Do we have any lots that are close to store this? So when we get ready to screen it like we did a few years ago, we could bring gravel in, mix it up, and still keep it at the same location?
Well, I coordinated with Fred. I think we're probably planning to take it down to those lots down by the recycle center where we've been piling it down there. Now, I know the animal shelter is gonna be in that vicinity, but I think there's enough high ground on our property
Up
to,
back to the east,
yeah, to fit that in there. That's the plan, unless, no, I don't believe there's any buyout lots immediately adjacent to this project. I don't know that we'd wanna have stockpiles if there, you know, even if we had some. one, there's floodplain. If we have empty lots, they're probably floodplain lots. And there'd be issues about piling material on a floodplain lot. And then again, it's also in a residential area, so I think we'd probably be sticking with piling the material where we've been doing it the last couple of years.
Okay.
Other questions?
I'm on a roll here. I'll make a motion to approve bid number 845, approve specifications, set a bid date for April 12th. Surface improvement project number 2016-2.
Second.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Under announcements, absentee voting for the mayor and the school board will begin March 28th, and they can pick up the absentees at the city and at the school?
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay. Okay,
15 days before election, which will be March 28th.
okay. Okay. Seeing no executive session, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So, very good. Thank you, everyone.